The Crane and the Crab. English Language, Grade 5. Hello, my dear little girls and boys. Are you ready for a new English lesson? Class, can you guess what are we learning today? Today we are going to learn an interesting story. The Crane and the Crab.
Infobells!
In a village, there lived a crane in a huge banyan tree. He was lucky enough to have a big pond full of fishes near the same banyan tree, so he used to have a hearty meal without any effort. As he grew old, he started losing his ability to catch the fish. Soon the crane started starving and became very weak. He realized, I need to use some tricks for my survival. The next day, he went to the pond as usual. This time, instead of trying to catch the fish, he stood there with a very sad face. A crab who lived near the pond asked, "Sir, you look very sad today. What happened?" The crane replied, "I heard the villagers are planning to fill the pond. I am worried that all the fishes in this lake would die and I may have to look for another place for food." The crab immediately told his fish friends about the news. The fish, on hearing the news, got scared and requested the crane to help them. The crane was happy to see his idea worked. He told the fish, "Okay, the only way I can help you is by carrying some of you each day to a nearby pond." The fish were overjoyed to hear this. So every day, the crane came to the pond and picked up some fish in his beak and flew off. Then came the turn of the crab. As usual, the crane picked up the crab on his beak and flew off. After flying for some distance, the crab asked, "Sir, how far is the new pond?" The crane laughed and said, "I'm not a fool to help you." He pointed to a rock covered with fish bones and said, "See, this is where your friends have met with their end, and now it's your turn. Ha 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 ha!" The crab got very angry. He decided to teach the crane a lesson. He pierced the neck of the crane with his sharp arms. The helpless crane, unable to fly, fell to the ground and met with his end. The crab returned to the pond. He told the other fish about how the crane cheated them and told them how he managed to kill the wicked crane. We reap only what we sow.
Once upon a time, there was a crane who lived near a pond. Right next to the pond was a big tree with a fairy living in it. He learned by observing the various animals. There were also many small fish living in the small pond. The crane was in the habit of picking up fish with his beak and eating them. Since there happened to be a drought in the area, the water level in the pond was becoming lower and lower. This made it easier for the crane to catch fish. In fact, he was even getting to be little fat. In order to catch all the fish in the pond, the crane thought of a clever plan. To begin with, the crane sat down on the shore. The fish came to him and asked, "Sir Crane, what are you thinking?" The holy-looking crane answered, "Oh, my dear fish, it makes me sad to think of your future. I am thinking about the coming miserable disaster." They said, "My lord, what disaster is coming to us?" To which the crane replied, "Look around you. There is very little water left in this pond. You are also running out of food to eat. This severe drought is very dangerous for you poor little ones." Then the fish asked, "Dear Uncle Crane, what can we do to save ourselves?" "My poor little children," said the crane, "you must trust me and do as I say. If you allow me to pick you up in my beak, I will take you one at a time to another pond. That pond is much bigger than this one. It is filled with water and covered with lovely lotuses. It will be like a paradise for you." When they heard the part of the beak, the fish became a little suspicious. They said, "Mr. Crane, how can we believe you?" Then the crane raised his head and said, "Please don't think such a thing. Can't you see that I am a very special crane? You should trust me. But if you don't believe me, send one fish with me and I will show him the beautiful pond. Then when I bring him back here, you will know I can be trusted." The fish said to each other, "This crane looks so calm. He sounds like an honest crane. But just in case it's a trick, let us send with him a useless little troublemaker. This will be a test." So they pushed him towards the shore. The crane bent his head and picked up the little one in his beak. Then he spread his wings and flew to a big tree on the shore of a beautiful pond. The fish was amazed to see such a wonderful place. Then the crane carried him back to his poor old pond. Arriving home, the little fish described the wonders of the beautiful big pond. The first lucky passenger was that same useless little troublemaker. Again the crane picked him up in his beak and flew to the big tree on the shore of the beautiful new pond. The little one was sure the helpful crane was about to drop him into the wonderful pond. But instead, the crane suddenly killed him, gobbled up his flesh, and let the bones fall to the ground. The crane returned to the old pond, brought the next little fish to the same tree, and ate him in the same way. Likewise, one by one, he gobbled up every fish. He became so stuffed with fish meat that he had trouble flying back to the little pond. He saw that there were no more fish left for him to trick and eat. Then he noticed a lonely crab crawling along the muddy shore, and he realized that he was still not completely satisfied. So he walked over to the crab and said, "My dear crab, I have kindly carried all the fish to a wonderful big pond not far from here. Why do you wish to remain here alone? If you simply do as the fish have done and let me pick you up in my beak, I will gladly take you there." But the crab thought, there is no doubt this overstuffed crane has eaten all those fish. His belly is so full he can hardly stand up straight. He definitely cannot be trusted. If I can get him to carry me to a new pond and put me in it, so much the better. But if he tries to eat me, I will have to cut off his head with my sharp claws. Then the crab said, My friend Crane, I am afraid I am much too heavy for you to carry in your beak. You would surely drop me along the way. Instead, I will grab onto your neck with my 8 legs and then you can safely carry me to my new home. The crane was so used to playing tricks on others that he didn't imagine he would be in any danger. He thought, Excellent! This will give me a chance to eat the sweet meat of this foolish trusting crab. So the crane allowed the crab to grab onto his neck with all his 8 legs. In addition, he grasped the crane's neck with his sharp claws. He said, Now kindly take me to the new pond. The foolish crane, with his neck in the clutches of the crab, flew to the same big tree next to the new pond. Then the crab said, Hey, you stupid crane, have you lost your way? You haven't taken me to the pond. Why don't you take me to the shore and put me in? The crane said, Who are you calling stupid? I don't have to take that from you. You are not my relative. I suppose you thought you tricked me into giving you a free ride. But I'm the cleverer. Just look at all those fish bones under the tree. I've eaten all the fish and now I'm going to eat you too, you stupid crab. The crab replied, Those fish were eaten because they were foolish enough to trust you. But no one would trust you now because you tricked the fish, but you can't fool me. I'm holding you by the throat. So if one dies, we both die. Then the crane realized the danger he was in. He begged the crab, Oh, my Lord Crab, please release me. I have learned my lesson. You can trust me. I have no desire to eat such a handsome crab like you. Then he flew down to the shore. The old crab realized the crane could not be trusted no matter what he said. He knew that if he let go of the crane, he would be eaten for sure. So he cut through his neck with his sharp claws just like a knife through butter. And the crane's head fell on the ground. Then the crab crawled safely into the wonderful pond. Meanwhile, the fairy had also come to the new pond and seen all what had happened. Sitting on the very top of the big tree, he said, The one who lives by tricks and lies no longer trusted, now he dies. The moral of this story is the trickster who can't be trusted has played his last trick. Now it's time to make smart choices. Let's practice. Children, can you describe each character? The crane, the crab, the fish. Follow the directions quickly. It's time to do the exercises in your Shikshana school publication textbook and writing book. Page numbers 90 to 92. I hope you enjoyed the story. Goodbye and see you soon.